Okay, everything up till now on the Sarah Jane Adventures has been, by design, juvenile, lightweight adventure. But this story, this is proper good science fiction storytelling. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. Okay, before I get into the story itself, first a little bit of trivia. The character of Andrea in this story, the major guest character aside from the villain, is played by Jane Asher. Now, that name's probably not familiar unless you are a particular kind of obsessive fan. Or maybe not, I don't know your life. But there's a particular plot point in the story that happens back in 1964 with a newspaper headline about the Beatles selling out all of their tour dates. And what does that have to do with Jane Asher? Well, at the time, Jane Asher was dating Paul McCartney. Matter of fact, they were together for 5-6 years, something like that. They split up by the end of the 60s. But I thought that was a nice little nod at the guest star of the program. Now, as for the story itself, look, whatever happened to Sarah Jane is an amazing story. If you were going to watch one Sarah Jane Adventures story, I would pick this one. There might be some other ones coming up later in the series, but certainly as far as the first season is concerned, this is the crown jewel. First of all, the primary villain in this story is the Trickster, and look at this guy. He is just haunting. He becomes a recurring villain across the entire Sarah Jane Adventures series, and he has a direct impact on the main Doctor Who series with the next season's finale. He also has an impact on Torchwood in the next season. The Trickster and his minions have a wide-ranging grasp, and one could argue that the Trickster goes all the way back to the classic series and the Mind Robber. The Void Limbo in this story is very much like the Void Limbo at the beginning of the Mind Robber. And that's not a coincidence, and the Trickster absolutely fits in with that story. The gist of this story is that the Trickster feeds off of chaos, and he finds a way to engineer the chaotic destruction of the Earth by way of meteor, and all that's required is the absence of Sarah Jane Smith. He finds a moment in her childhood at age 13 in 1964, the traumatic moment in her life that shaped her as a person. And that was when her friend Andrea died in a tragic accident, falling off of a pier down at the waterfront. And the Trickster simply swaps their positions so that Sarah Jane Smith dies and Andrea lives. And that has the knock-on effect of Luke never existing. It means nobody remembers Sarah Jane Smith, except Maria, who's protected by a Hellraiser-style puzzle box. And so this entire story is the world continually changing and Maria being the only one who remembers the way it was. And the ticking time bomb of a meteor headed for Earth that only Sarah Jane Smith, and more importantly her supercomputer Mr. Smith, can stop. That's a surface level description of the story, but this is so much about decisions and regrets and the kind of things that shape our entire personalities. Andrea is almost sympathetic as a character, and ultimately sympathetic, I think. But she makes that decision to agree to swap places at 13 years old as her life is about to end, and it's completely understandable for that decision. Where it gets more dicey is when she makes the decision 40 years later to wish Maria away, and very nearly leads to the destruction of the Earth, and her final redemption is accepting the necessity and importance of her death in the timeline of events. There's just so much going on in this story. It's so well written, and it does not read as children's tween science fiction at all. This is good, proper, scary science fiction in a way, ironically, that I think only children's fiction can do. This is, without question, the best story of the first season of Sarah Jane Adventures, and easily one of the top 2 or 3 stories of the entire series run. This is such a good one. Go ahead, check this one out. It's on HBO Max, and I don't think you will regret it. That wraps it up for today. Tomorrow will be the Series 1 finale for Sarah Jane Adventures, and then Friday, it's Christmas again with Kylie Minogue and the Titanic. I am so excited. I'll see you tomorrow.